Hi you guys. So today we're going to talk about seed collection, and we're going to collect some seed from several different kinds of tomatoes because we do it the same way, and from some cucumbers because they're also done the same way. I'm going to group this seed collection video into collecting seeds from things that are gunky. And I think you know what I mean, that gelatinous material, right, that's inside the seeds, like that. How do you get the seeds out of there? It's pretty easy to do. Got to get a clean cutting board first. Let me rinse this off and we'll come back and get started. Alright, let's talk about cherry tomatoes first. These are some pretty big cherry tomatoes. I've been cultivating, trying to grow larger cherry tomatoes every year, and what I've done is gone through my plants and picked out the biggest cherry tomatoes I can find and just regrowing those. These are the average size cherry tomato, so you can see the difference in size here. So I like the bigger ones. They're just as sweet to me, and I want to cultivate these, so I want a lot of these. So I'm going to get a lot of seeds. Just throw those in that bed, they'll grow next year. So this is how we collect seeds from gunky things, and they're the hardest, I think, to do because we need to let these ferment. But don't panic. All you're going to do is take your tomato and some kind of a container with water in it, and you're going to put your hand over that container and smoosh that tomato in there. You can drop the whole thing in if you want. Bits and parts get in, that's fine with me. But that's what you're going to do. So for the bigger tomatoes, we'll do those together, but all we're going to have to do with those is cut them up to get to the seeds. I mean, I guess you could do it this way, but I think that might be a huge mess. So, cherry tomatoes, that easy. Then you let it sit for a while. You can see I've got another batch, a lot more tomatoes, but can you see that all the seeds have soaked to the bottom? The top has fermented, it's molding on the top, but the seeds are now fallen to the bottom, and the beauty about these now is that they don't have any of this gelatinous material on them. The gelatinous material is on it, so you know the seed wants to survive, right? It wants to grow into the following year, so it's a way to protect itself from the winter. But since we're going to be putting these onto a paper towel to dry, we don't really need that gelatinous material. In fact, we don't want it because it will mold on the paper towel. So you leave this wherever. It doesn't have to be covered. Leave it wherever for 5 or 6 days, and then you'll see that you can get these seeds out, and they are nice and clean. So we'll do that in a minute, but let's get on to a different kind of a tomato and see how we get the seeds out of that one. Alright, so now we have a much bigger tomato here. To me, this looks like a Cherokee, a Black Cherokee. Bottom's red, the top is getting dark, but it's been damaged a little bit here, but it's ripe enough to collect seeds. So with bigger tomatoes, I mean, if we could just squash it like the cherry tomatoes, and I better get the rest of these cherry tomato seeds off my fingers, we could do it that way, but it's just a lot easier to slice and then squeeze into a different kind of a vessel. So this I have water in. I'm going to slice this, squeeze the juice and the seeds into there, and then I'm just going to pour it into this glass for fermentation. So go this way, but I like to go this way because you can see you get into these pockets. And we're going to squeeze. Now, if you were making a recipe that just happened to have a lot of removal of the seeds. You could certainly just do that and then remove the seeds. Like, this is a lot of good meat to waste. So I think I'm going to make some gazpacho. And then do the same with this side. You could cut it up into more pieces, you could do less, but you get my drift, right? Look through here. These bigger tomatoes don't have a ton of seeds, they don't have a ton of juice. Oh, but there's, you know, a good 100 seeds or so in here. So this looks pretty good to me. Not a lot of seeds left over. Let's pour it into here. Oh, I'm going to have to pour off some of that water. That's all right. It's just water and meat. All right. But we can see we do have seeds in there. So go ahead and keep this. Mark it, the jar, and set it aside. And now let's look at doing something similar to an Amish paste tomato. So paste tomatoes are kind of a different story altogether. I've already collected seeds from one tomato in here, and you can see that there's barely any in there at all. And the reason why is a paste tomato is made to make paste from, right? So it doesn't have a lot of seeds. It has mostly meat. So you'll see just a few pockets in here with seeds in them. So I tend to cut them in half long ways, take out the gelatinous mass, make sure I got all the seeds, put the meat over there, and you'll see that's pretty much everything from the side of the tomato. Let's take a look and see. So I'm going to need to save quite a few of these. So here's a little seed pocket. Right there, just a few seeds. Go ahead and get that out. The rest of this is probably meat. It is. I'm going to save that for something. And again, here is another pocket. Take the seeds out. And save that for something. So this is basically how you do most of the different tomatoes. And like I said, what you'll be left over with is that fermented tomatoes. So let's take a look at that and see how you process it. Alright, this should be easy enough. So what I have here is that container of tomatoes that's fermented, and again, so the tomatoes have mostly, the seeds have sunk to the bottom. There's a bunch stuck to the side, but that's no issue. So how do we get these out of here and then allow them to dry on some kind of paper toweling? Well, if you don't already have a really good strainer or colander at home, you should. If you can see, this one has a small tight mesh inside, but then it's got a bigger mesh on the outside, so it actually has two different meshes on here, and that allows you to scrape with something to get things through, but luckily we don't have to scrape. So with this, it's just as easy as we're pouring this through, and it'll come out the bottom, and then we will, what will we do? We will use some water to spray the seeds clean. But let's go somewhere it's going to be less messy. I'll often do this over the top of a planter just in case some seeds get out. But for today's sake, I'm just going to do it out here in my lawn. So I'm just putting that in there. I'll rinse this out, pull out this random garbage I have in here, and then I'm going to go grab the garden hose. Alright, so tomato, garden hose, how much easier can this be? It's okay if there's little pieces of skin and stuff in there, it doesn't really matter. So, now you can see there's no more of that gel on there, it's just tomato. So now, back over to the paper toweling while we let this kind of drip dry for a couple minutes. Okay, here we are. So this is drip dried enough. You can see we have, I don't know, 300, 400 seeds in there. So now what I'm going to do is put my paper towel down on something nice and sturdy, mark the date on it, and I'm going to flip this over hard and quick so I dislodge a lot of this onto here. If you're kind of afraid to do that, you can, use the TikTok method of turning a pancake if you want. But I say over hard and with conviction, right? Just do it. You'll only mess it up once and then you won't ever again. So then you just spread it out a little bit. Remember, it's not gelatinous anymore now. It's just seeds. And they will dry on here, I don't know, 10 days. Depends. Are you going to leave them outside? What's the weather like? If you do leave them outside, make sure they're protected so the little squirrels and such don't try to steal them from you, because this was a lot of hard work. And you'll never have to buy a tomato seed again. Now remember, heirloom, heritage, open pollinated. You got a hybrid, you guys spot something from the grocery store that doesn't say it's an heirloom, forget about it. It's not worth your time. It's going to devolve. Every year you'll save that seed. Next year when you plant it, you're going to get the two items that were crossed to make that hybrid. So maybe a sour tomato that's big and a tiny little super sweet. I mean, it's just going to devolve and devolve and devolve every year. But a hybrid, heirloom, or open pollinated, it's going to adapt to your soil. It wants to be there. It's going to get better every single year. All right, so now we've done tomatoes. Now I'm going to show you cucumber. I didn't show you this part of the cucumber because it's the exact same. You're going to cut open a cucumber, get the seeds, put it in a vessel with water, let it ferment, and then do this whole exact same thing. It's pretty easy, so I don't think you need to see all those steps. But let's go see what opening up a cucumber looks like. Hi. So I know at this point, this doesn't even look like a cucumber, does it? That's because it's been allowed to really mature, and it's gotten really big and yellow. And this is what happens when cucumbers get too big. But what we want, again, when we're collecting seeds, we want the best of the best, right? The biggest and the most beautiful. And that's what we're going to see in this. I have two different types of cucumbers. I marked which ones I wanted to save for seed. Actually, I'm not going to put that in there because I'm going to need this. So I cut the ends off just to make it easier to cut down the middle, or off to the side a little bit because the seeds run down the middle. But I also wanted these seeds to get big. Look at that. Look how big they are. So we're going to do the same kind of thing we did with the tomato. And put it into a container. I have a pint this time instead of a quart. I have a quart this time instead of a pint. And you can see again, just gelatinous watery material. Go ahead and just put that in there. It's often easier to use a big container, right, when you're dealing with bigger items. So you can use, there's tools they sell for this. You can use a spoon. As usual, I use my fingers because they work the best for me. Just quick, down, down, down. So, can you eat this? Yes, you'd have to peel the skin off, and then you could eat the inside. And it would be more like, have you ever had watermelon rind? Something like a watermelon rind. But can you see how much goo and stuff there is on there? It's a lot waterier because this is an older cucumber, but lots and lots and lots of seeds. So that's how you save cucumber seed. Don't use the small new green cucumber. Only use heirloom, open pollinated, or heritage. I've got several cucumbers, so There's one. That's how easy it is. So pretty much this will work for anything that's got guck inside of it. Anything that's got guck around a seed. I can't think of much more right now that has it. But this is the way to do it. It's a fermentation method. It works really well. I do have a blender method for getting tomato seeds. It also works for tomatillo seeds. I'll link that in case you want to get some seeds today and you don't want to go through this fermentation process to get your seeds. It's a lot quicker, but you need an immersion blender or a house blender for that. But it doesn't work for big seeds. It doesn't work for seeds like this. So anyway, let me know if you have any questions. We're going to move on to doing different kinds of seeds here. I think we're going to do radish next, and stuff in the mustard family and Swiss chard and just about anything I can get my hands on that's got seeds in it. So let me know if you have any questions, and we'll see you.